Okay, so last time that I did an epoxy pour, you guys were really curious about how to calculate epoxy. So I have my slabs in there, and I'm gonna show you how I calculate epoxy. Okay, so here's everything that I need to calculate epoxy. Little ruler, big ruler, and a tape measure, pencil and paper. So I do a little drawing, and then I do my calculations on this sheet of paper. The calculation that I use is width times height times length, equals volume. I calculate each of these in inches. So when you multiply width times height times length, it equals inches cubed. At the end, I'm going to convert inches cubed into ounces and in gallons. That is a really simplified way of what I do to find how much epoxy I'm going to need. Okay, so I usually start with labeling each of the rivers. So I would call this one river, and then this big crack over here, I would call my second river. It's just a crack, but I'm gonna also calculate the epoxy here and in here. I also calculate what is gonna go under it, other cracks, and what's gonna flow onto the sides as well. So first off, I'm gonna start with this river, and I'm gonna figure out the width. I like to find the average width of this entire river. So that's too big. So I use this, and I go from the most inner part. So this is concave to this way. So it is going to be 15 inches. So to find an average of something, you add all of the numbers up. So 15, 15, 13, 13, all the numbers up together, and then you multiply it by the amount of numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I have to use my calculator because I don't do math in my head. So the width of this river averaged out to 12.6. So I write that down, 12.6. And then I go and find the height. So the height is how tall this is. So I found that it was 3 inches and a quarter all the way across. So I don't have to find the average. It's 3 and a quarter for the height. And then I want to find the length. So the length is this entire thing, which I actually already know is 98, because that is what the mold is, but I will check. And that's what it is, exactly, 98 inches. 98 inches. So then, to find the volume, I'm going to do width times height times length, which is 12.6 times 3.25 times 98. And then we will find the volume in inches cubed. However, I need to use a calculator again. So here's what the calculation looks like. So width with all of the widths that are going across this river right here, and then averaging divided by 9, and I got 12.6. Height was 3.25 inches. Length was 98 inches. And then volume, I multiply all of those together, coming up with 4,013.1 inches cubed. So now I'm going to go and do this crack. Okay, so just calculated this guy, and here we go. So 3 times 50 times 1.8 equals 270 inches cubed. So next what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to calculate the epoxy that's going to slip under here. As you can see, stuff is going to go down there, and we're going to measure the width. So I'm actually going to measure the width of this board, this board, and then the height. So the height of this, like how high is that? So that's like, we'll see what that is. Probably like an 1/8 inch or something. And then we're going to measure the length, which is just going to be basically the 98 inches again, because I know that this is 98 inches. Okay, let's do this calculation together. So we're gonna find the width. We remember that we're measuring what epoxy is going to go under this slab when we're pouring the epoxy. So, oh, I don't need that. I want this. So we're gonna measure the slab because what goes under it is the same amount basically as this top part of the slab. So we've got 11. Let's go this way. The height is about a little over a half. It's about 0.75 actually, 0.75 inches. So the height is about 0.75 inches here, and I already measured over here, and it's about 12 64ths, which averages about half, 0.75. And the width, I got 15.6 inches, and the length is that 98 inches again. So now we'll go and find the volume. That comes to 718.54 inches cubed. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing on that side and find out how much epoxy is going to go down below. But back to calculating epoxy. So we just calculated what epoxy is going to seep under this when I pour. And we have the volume at 9, which is 203.13 inches cubed. Next up is calculating what epoxy is going to go in the sides. Down the long side, and down this long side, and down the short sides. So I usually do the 2 short sides together and the 2 long sides together. So I'm going to do the 2 long sides first. Okay, so figuring out the width. So that's about 0.25, a little over 0.25, 0.25, 1/4. No, that's, yeah, still 0.25. Height is sitting right at 3. And length again is that 98. Found the long sides, the 2 long sides. I ended up separating them now onto the short sides. Looks like I've got a little bit of room. So sometimes what I do is if I know I'm going to be chopping this off, sometimes I will stick some extra wood in here so that it's less epoxy being used. It only helps save a little bit of epoxy, but sometimes it does help. So recap, when calculating epoxy, you do the river, you do the sides, all the sides, the short sides and the long sides. You do the cracks like over there. And you also do what epoxy is going to go under as well. Once you've found all of the volumes in all those different areas, then we're going to add all of the volumes together. And then we are going to convert the inches cubed into ounces or into liters, whatever epoxy you have. So the total in inches cubed is 5,395.35 inches cubed. I will show you how I convert inches cubed into ounces. So I told you I don't do math, so Siri helps me a ton with my math skills. Holy guacamole. That is the most epoxy in a river table I have ever done. What is the largest epoxy you've ever used?